Okay, so this is my second take, and there was sound last time. So today, hi, this is Lisa Turner from Psycademy, and today I want to share with you some of my thoughts about what's the truth in all of the messages that are being passed around right now. So I'm going to be talking about some of the things that have been labeled conspiracy theories, and I even know that term is controversial. So I'm going to try and be as uncontroversial as possible whilst speaking what I believe is a truth, but not necessarily the truth. So I'm going to share with you some thoughts that are useful. So one of the things I've been asked a lot recently are, how do I know what to believe amongst all the things that people are sharing about the deep state, about QAnon, about masks, not masks? Is coronavirus was it planned? Is it is it an attempt to suppress us? Is it the government trying to control us? Is that why they're making us wear masks? Are mask wearers sheeple? Are non-mask wearers dangerous, or are they woke? So should we explore this? So what I'd love for you to do is tag someone that you think might find this useful, and either like, or if possible, even click the little love button. Facebook just ignores likes now. It doesn't mean anything anymore. So here's what I'm going to share is some of my thoughts. So here we go. So nothing. So by the way, nothing I say here is the truth, but neither is it a lie. What I'm going to be presenting and sharing with you are my thoughts on what might be going on right now. So if you've seen in the past my model of the evolution of the species, I've talked about how as a species, as a society, and I call it Project Theos, which stands for the evolution of the species and society, Project Theos. It refers to how we are awakening and evolving via and through the chakras. So I'll quickly recap on that. I've done other videos on that. And by the way, if you have any questions about anything, please pop them in the chat box. I'll either answer them now live, or I'll come back and answer them later if we're no longer live. So beginning of last century, there were 2 world wars and a recession. So people didn't have enough food to eat. They demanded housing, food, and society answered with farming, council housing, national service, social security. This is the base chakra of society being activated. Then we had the sexual revolution of the 60s, and there was an explosion of creativity, of music, of art, of fashion, and sexuality. This is the sacral chakra of society being activated. Then in the 80s, we had the me, I generation. This is where everyone was starting their own business. Thatcherism in the UK, and a lot of kind of stock market boom going on in the States. It was a boom time of a lot of prosperity and a lot of individual wealth and identity. People were talking about their identity, living their life on their terms. This is the solar plexus of society being activated. Then in the 90s, we had this boom of therapies and spirituality and spiritual growth. And everyone was here. People started to go to see healers, to see therapists. And if you weren't seeing a therapist, there was something really wrong with you. So this was the heart chakra, where compassion was activated at the level of society. Then in the noughties, we had the birth of the internet and social media, the throat chakra. Everyone's talking, everyone's listening, everyone's sharing. Now, what happens just before the chakra above activates is the chakra below becomes bloated. It becomes overexpressed. So just to give you a couple of examples, I won't go through the whole model, but a couple of examples. So in the 50s, there was a time of great conformity. You had to obey the rules and toe the line and marry and have 2.2 kids and go to school and get a job. This was a very restrictive, structured time. This is an overexpression of the base chakra. There was a lot of fear around, you've got to do this or you won't be employable. But of course that broke through to the 60s, where it was okay to just, drop out, do your own thing. Then in the 60s, it kind of became almost like overexpressed in the 70s, and that's what led to, kind of became overexpressed, and that's what led to the solar plexus opening. So where we are now is, as you'll notice, like anyone pretty much can say anything. I mean, yeah, media try and do some control and people moan about the control, but honestly, there are still far more platforms for expression and the ability to express stuff. Stuff will go viral even before it gets shut down. So if you want to communicate something, you can, and it will get out there. If it's viral, it will get out there. So everyone's talking, everyone's listening, and is it all the truth? Well, clearly not. Now, this is not my role to tell you what is the truth, what isn't the truth. But here's what I will share with you, some thoughts about how you can identify what's the truth. And the way that we could do this, an approach to this, is looking at it from the perspective of this model. So if you think about this model, the throat chakra is overexpressed, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to open the third eye. So what's the third eye about? It's a spiritual awakening, and people are saying this. It's the great awakening. And when the third eye is open, we see the world as it truly is. We see ourselves as we truly are. There's no more separation. At the throat, there's still a lot of separation, and we've seen this. Like quarantine and wearing masks is the epitome of separation caused by the excessive throat chakra. Whether it's necessary, whether it's not necessary is almost irrelevant. It's here because the throat chakra needs to be bloated to pierce the third eye open, to burst it open. And that sounded a bit gruesome. This is not like exploding your eye. This is about an explosion of an awakening. Now, whenever... if you think, so where we are now as a species, we're actually in kind of a spiritual adolescence. So, if you think about when anyone I am a mum. My daughter's now nearly 20. Thank God we got her through that. But and anyone who's beyond adolescence, you'll be aware of this. There's a time when your children reject everything. They reject you, they reject your values, they reject your beliefs, they reject their own beliefs that they previously held. They reject the beliefs of society, and they do this like whether or not it's true or useful, but it's important that they do reject any beliefs that are out there, because in doing so, they find themselves. That's why children do that. So adolescence is a time of finding yourself. And in this, we are finding ourselves as a species. And that's why there's a lot of people rejecting the status quo. Now, we're seeing this, and I call it the status quo. It's just what was. They're rejecting what was. So they're rejecting authority. That's kind of what adolescence is, right? It's a rejection of the authority of our parents, of our teachers, of society. And there's, sometimes there can be some friction in that. And sometimes the things that do actually support and sustain and help us are rejected, but then they're cycled back to. And this is where I want you to trust and hold that whatever your personal beliefs are, what will happen as the third eye opens is that which is not useful will be dropped. It kind of has to be, because as you open the third eye, as if an individual opens their third eye, they see themselves as they truly are. They see themselves, and for some that can be, they can think of that as scary, but that's the ego being scared of thinking, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not smart enough, pretty enough, popular enough, whatever. That's ego bullshit, right? Oh, sorry, swearing for free. But when you think about what is that, like, who are you truly? Who are you really? And at the third eye, you see yourself as you really are, which is nothing less than an aspect of the divine. Yeah. So bear with me here. One of the things that we see, and I'm not going to talk about anyone in particular, but like the essence of everything that we're hearing now is it kind of could be like, and it doesn't matter what the belief system is, if it's a throat chakra or below belief system, which is about separation and fear, it will basically could be summed up like this. There's something that's more powerful than you. It's bad, evil, and it is specifically out to get you. You are weak. Something else is strong, and that strong thing hates you and wants to get you. Now, okay, right? So you're thinking, no, that's not true. Well, so if you believe that the elite, the Illuminati, I've written some stuff down, Bill Gates, aliens, the deep state, the Rockefellers, billionaires, if you believe that there's a they and they're out to get us, what are we doing? We're in separation. If there's that, and I'm not saying, I think there's probably an element of truth in some of these, and there's probably an element of bullshit in most of them, because all we know is what's useful. So here's my suggestion. Anytime you're presented with a theory, anytime you're presented with, and again, I'm not saying any of these are true or not true. That is entirely, I don't care what you believe. I only care that you feel empowered. And that's the question I want you to ask yourself. Does this belief system is at its core, the message of its core? Does it say, you are an aspect of the divine, you are infinite, you are loved, and there's nothing that can hurt your psyche truly, that you are infinitely resourceful, that anything that is going on, you can rise above? Does it say things like that? Or does it say, oh, we have to fight the evil, this powerful evil thing that's out to get us? Because sometimes it kind of, it almost sounds empowering, doesn't it? That there's this thing that if we only knew about it, then we'd be able to protect ourselves about it. But even in that phrase, protect ourselves, what that suggests is there's something you need to protect yourself from. Now, if you know that you are infinite source, yeah, what would you need to protect yourself from? And I'm just going to check on my other place. Are there any questions about this? Can't see any questions. Okay. Yeah. So if you have any, what are your thoughts? Like, how's this landing? Does this make sense? Okay. See, we've got some listeners. So if you, some viewers. So if this makes sense, either click, yeah, this makes sense, Lise. Let me know I'm on the, or if it doesn't make sense, ask it, what are your questions? What doesn't make sense to you? So, so here's the thing to ask yourself when you're presented with any theory is, does it create expansion? And because everything is just a theory, right? That's my belief. Everything is a theory. Some theories, Patience is here. Hey, Patience, there's a lot of sense. Lena says, are you saying that possibly some people are rejecting authority as they did as children? I'm not sure if you meant that, but I associated with it. Yeah, Lena, that is essentially what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that they're being children. I'm saying this is like this is a great spiritual awakening. And as we awaken spiritually, and as we go through this, there's a spiritual adolescence that we go through that moves us from this kind of lower level thinking to a higher level. And in that, we reject everything. And in that rejection, there's and the other thing to observe here is where it is really about judgment. It's truth. It's a lie. It's good, it's bad, it's left, it's right, it's evil. And anytime you see that, anytime you that is what's being presented, that there's something good and there's something bad, then there's a judgment that this is good and this is bad. And if we think that at the level of the third eye being open, where there's nothing but expansion and awareness and awakeness, and you recognize that you are divine. So when the third eye opens, you see yourself as you truly are, and you are divine. Now, that doesn't mean that your physical body can't be harmed, and there might be some things you want to do to look after it. Like we all talk about having a healthy immune system. I definitely think that's a good thing, right? Looking after your immune system, definitely a thing worth doing. And if you break your leg, the Western medicine profession is brilliant at plastering and fixing legs. And they did that with my daughter when she was 8, which broke her arm. But, hooray. And there are some things that have a use, but it's about, let's take money. People say money's good or money's bad or money's evil, whatever. It's a label. Now, labeling is something that happens at the throat chakra. At the third eye, we go, is it useful? So I'll tell you a little story. There was a time a while ago when right when I began setting up Psycademy, and money was tight. I'd invested a lot in the business and there wasn't a lot of money. And I think my bank sent me a letter to say I'd gone overdrawn by it was literally like £1. at the same week, my washing machine broke. The washing machine man had to come and fix it. And he found that the thing that had broken it was a pound coin that had got lodged in the workings somewhere and got lodged behind the drum. And so the thing is that pound coin evil because it broke my washing machine? Or is money good because it would have stopped me going overdrawn? Well, it's just energy. It's all energy. And someone says, so Julia, and I'm just gonna question you on this, which may seem like a challenge, but that's not necessarily the intention. You say negative energy weakens you, but negative and positive are a judgment. There is no what if there's no negative or positive? What if there's just energy and you've either got too much or not enough in the right or wrong places? And you could think about that as attention. If you think about, well, where are you putting your attention? Are you putting your attention towards arguing about these, different theories? I'm not going to call them conspiracy theories because I know that that's a controversial topic, that even the word conspiracy theory is controversial, because I actually think it's quite accurate, because the conspiracy says there's something out to get you. And that's what a lot of them are portraying. But whenever you look at any of these theories, that it's either useful or it's not useful. So Sam says you have to balance negative and positive energy. But again, my darling, there's a sense that negative is bad. We must fight the negative or balance it with the positive. What if it's just energy? What if there's no negative or positive? What if it's just all energy and some of it's in a good place or in a useful place and some of it's not in a useful place? Yeah. So, and again, so another example of this. Is it good to be filled with vitality and be wide awake and feel alert? Is that good? Yeah. Tell me if it's good. If you think it's good to be wide awake and alert, is that a good thing to feel wide awake and refreshed and alert and full of energy and full of beans? If that's good, type yes in the comments. Yes, it's good to feel wide awake and alert. And that's a positive feeling. Come on. Work with me here. Is it good to feel wide awake and alert? Is it good to feel filled with energy and vitality? Is that a good thing? It's not a trick question, guys. I want to know your opinion. Nobody's going to, either there's a big, or maybe there's a big delay. Okay. So I'm going to go with it. Some of you might say, Christine says, sometimes people have said yes. Somebody, Facebook user, I don't know who you are, my darling. So yes, it's good to feel wide awake. Well, what if it's like Christine says, you're onto something here, Christine. What if it's 2 a.m. and you're trying to sleep? So there at that particular moment, feeling wide awake and alert can be annoying, right? Or you could just go and use it and do something useful, right? Yeah. So Julia said yes to something. So feeling wide awake and alert might be useful. It's about context. So you've got lots and lots of energy, but you don't want it. Therefore, the energy is it bad energy? Is it negative energy? No, you've just got energy when you don't want energy. And then is feeling really relaxed and at peace and calm and sleepy and like you're going to drift off into a nice sleep. Is that a good thing? Well, again, it depends. If you're driving on the motorway, probably I'm going to suggest not. I'm going to suggest that not falling asleep at that time would be a better option. So energy is never, I'm going to suggest you experiment with this as an idea, that there's no such thing as positive and negative energy. It's either useful or not useful. Sam says she's full of energy at the moment. I feel pretty energized right now too. So good. So does that make sense? So what if we let go of the labels? Because this is the throat chakra, labeling things as good, as bad, as black, as white, as evil, as angelic. So Julia says, I work with angels and I ask for their help to focus on love. So I reckon that's where my attention goes. Yeah. And then, love does some really interesting things. And some of the things even love does, some of the things that have been done in the name of love could be labeled as, not so useful, like arranged marriages to people that you don't necessarily want to be married to, but the parents will say, it's because I love you. Yeah. So Patience is asked, let's pop this one up. So how would you describe good and evil in line with energy? Is it the same concept of high or low energy? So I'm not sure quite what you mean by high or low energy. If you mean feeling energized or not energized, it's all about context. And again, I don't know that there is evil energy. I think there's just energy that isn't useful. It's in an unuseful form. Yeah. So, take the an explosion, a bomb, and we had one. It wasn't a bomb, but it was an accidental explosion, allegedly, according to some media reports, and who knows. That in the Middle East, in Beirut, there was an explosion, and it's just energy. And you can't. And again, like there was a hurricane in America. It's just energy. The hurricane isn't evil. It's just energy. And it's just, like people might prefer that it didn't come and smash their houses up. But the hurricane it's not personal. It just is. And if we start to think about it like this, like none of this is personal. It just is. And what if you started to believe, rather than that there was evil energy out to get us, or evil entities, or evil organizations, the Illuminati, the elite, whatever, the government, what if we believed maybe they're not out to get us? Maybe they're actually out to support us, to assist us. And all we need to do is to utilize what they offer in a way that's empowering for us. And to ask the question, does it expand or does it shrink? Yeah. Does it expand or does it shrink? Let's see if we got any other questions coming in. Oh, sorry, microphone. I apologize to my microphone, even though I know it's inanimate, but it's a lovely microphone. It's my Blue Yeti. Okay, I think I've no more questions coming in. So how's this landed? Is this useful? Is this useful as a way of thinking about it? So one of the other things people have asked me is, what do you do when somebody presents you with a belief that is seems really nuts, and you just can't go there? And that's when it's just okay to not go there. You just don't need to go there. Julia said, I understand what you're saying. It's our take on the situation. Yeah, everything. So if what you mean by it's our take on the situation, if what you mean by that is it's how we label it, it's how we choose to perceive it. To a dog or like a tiger with its foot caught in a trap, its rescuer is a threat or a savior, depending on their level of awareness. And the tiger may attack their rescuer, interpreting them as a predator. So their rescuer is either a predator out to get them, a hunter to hunt them, or a savior, a rescuer. So just notice, is what's being presented, is it actually out to save you, or is it out to attack you? And it's all about how you choose to experience it. Sam says, I used to see my family as being negative all the time. Now I just see them differently. And they just need to learn things in life in a different way. And I'm gonna just nudge you with perceiving someone as needing to learn something. It's like, what if they don't? And I have no idea. What if they don't need to learn anything? Maybe they know what they need to know for their life, for them to live their life. And who is anyone? Just as my intention in presenting any of this is I have no idea what you need to learn or know. These are my thoughts and ideas. My suggestion, my invitation is to experiment with them, not to just believe it blindly, to experiment with it, to see if it's useful. If it's useful, use it, apply it. And if it's not, let it go. And what if we just started? My invitation is to start observing, notice the labels, and notice the fighting back of the judgments, because that's what, anytime there's a judgment, another judgment will come in to balance and fight that judgment. And when you move above that to the third eye, there's no judgment. There's just, there are some beautiful beings striving to find their own way with their own choices, finding their own beliefs, their own set of values, their own model of the world that works for them. Isn't that marvelous? Isn't that marvelous? And I'll just end with this one thing. When you're below the level of the third eye, it's easier to blame someone else for your life not being as you want it to be. It's much easier to believe that and to blame someone else than it is to believe in yourself. It's easier to blame someone else than it is to believe in yourself. But when the third eye opens, it's so easy to believe in yourself. It's so easy to believe in yourself. Christine's asked, what is injustice then? Does it exist? I'm going to throw that back to you. What do you think injustice is? I wonder if it's just, I mean, and again, that would depend very much on the context. And is injustice where someone is using their power over another in a way that's really overt, in a way that's damaging them? Oh, Julia said, being non-judgmental is very difficult. Any tips? Yeah. And it also comes back to the injustice. So one of the things to do is to say this, is to step out of judgment, is to first be aware that you're in judgment. As soon as you start to feel an emotional reaction, and we have a process that we use in Psycademy called conscious emotional transformation that releases resistance to pure source energy, to love. And once you have that ability to experience more love, then it's easier to be out of judgment. So the first thing to do is be aware of the judgment. And you might notice that as negative emotion. Then the next step is to move into actually what you can do. So the next thing to do is release any negative emotions around that, because the negative emotions come from a need for somebody else to be or do a particular thing so that you feel okay. So then you can release that. And then you recognize, oh, I'm an infinite being of love. Don't need anyone else to do or be anything. Then what you can do is you can say this, how interesting. How interesting. And notice, if you can scroll through the Facebook feed right now and the social media feeds right now, where all this stuff, where this is, this person is out, this group of people is out to get that group of people, or that group of people aren't conforming, so they're putting this other group of people in danger. When you notice that, and you can just go, how interesting, and not feel the need to justify, to judge, to step in and fight a battle. And here's the thing, so going back to Christine with the injustice, does it exist? I don't know. That's never for me to say. I think that there are probably situations that are suboptimal, but there's always some action that we can take to alleviate that for ourselves and for others. And it's probably not assuming that we're less than divine, that we're less than infinite. So I'm going to end with this. It's easier to blame someone else than it is to believe in yourself. And when you're truly spiritually awakened, you do believe in yourself, because you can't believe in anything else, because that's you know who you truly are as an infinite being. And when you know that you're an infinite being, that you are an aspect of source, which is infinite, then you can't but believe in yourself and attract and find the resources you need. And there may be some fun and games and challenges on the way, but these aren't good or bad. They're just challenges, they're just challenges, and you can always overcome them and rise above them. So if you like this video, click the love button. If you think anyone else would benefit from it, please share this. I think this is I think this would be a useful message for a lot of people right now. If you think that too, please share it. Share the essence of it, or tag them in it. Let them know. And know that you are loved. And wherever you are, I love you. And I believe in you, even if you don't believe in you yourself yet. Bye for now.